some rules are being tweaked just to get people back on track the way they should have been in the first place.
That is, to me,
Yeah.
that is what it should be. And it should help you stay focused. It should include your strategies. It should help you look at your ROI and then adjust as needed.
You're listening to Real Estate Coffee Talk. I'm your host, Sarah Hilton, and this is your weekly live coffee date with the who's who from every corner of the real estate industry. Every week, we're spotlighting stories that inspire and tips that empower. So whether you're new to the game or a seasoned pro, there's something for everyone. Now grab your mug and let's get into it. All right, Jodie and Brittany, welcome to Real Estate Coffee Talk. Cheers.
Hey, thanks for having us. Oh,
I know Brittany's drinking coffee. Jodie, did you have your coffee yet today?
I did. I already had like 3 cups.
I know.
I'm already switched to water at this point.
I'm glad I'm not alone.
Girl, no. I love my coffee.
I'm like, this is why I have problems. I need to just like chase it with a glass of water or something.
I do always have water. Yeah.
Yes, just to like get yourself like stabilized. It's terrible, but it's so nice when I get to talk to people like you and have my coffee. So I'm excited. All right. So Brittany has been on this show before. And then new to the show is Jodie Cordell. So real quick, I want to know a little bit about both of you. I'll let Jodie lead off. Tell us a little bit about you, how long you've been in the real estate game, what you do, and all that.
Awesome. Yes. Thank you so much, by the way, for having me on. I'm so excited about this podcast today. It's going to be fun. I started in real estate as an agent in 2018, and I immediately started doing my own marketing because I came from a marketing background. I was in newspaper, radio, advertising sales for many years before I got into real estate. So I brought all that skill with me to my real estate business. And then a few years after I got, up and running in my real estate business, I shifted gears and came to The Close. And I've been with The Close for about 2.5 years, just sharing knowledge with agents, the things that I learned along the way. And I also became a faculty member here with Florida Realtors. So I'm a statewide CE instructor as well.
I love that. We have to come back to that. Okay. Jodie, we have so much in common. I'm so excited about this. Okay. So Brittany, a little bit for those of us who didn't get a chance to tune in to your very popular podcast, tell us a little bit about you, real estate, all that. What you doing?
Yeah. So I actually, Jodie and I have a lot in common as well, because we had similar backgrounds in that we were both in marketing, and that's how I started my career in real estate. I had been in marketing, and then I got into marketing for real estate, fell in love with the industry, got my license, started selling, and then ultimately kind of made my way out of selling full time. I still have an active license, and I still practice kind of part-time-ish, but I went into leadership and I was doing agent development, and I've made my way kind of back to a little bit of those marketing educating roots, and I'm here at The Close now. I also teach. I don't teach CE, but some of my workshops are in some states qualify for CE. So I do wellness and real estate education for real estate agents and real estate professionals. So yeah, we all kind of have ties together that are similar in our interests and our skills. And so yeah, it's great to be sharing knowledge and education so that agents can build their best business.
Right. And, I really love like the timing of this conversation too. And we're going to talk about how realtors can grow their business, people who are still like actively on the ground and stuff like that. But lately, like in a lot of these real estate groups, just as the market shifts a little bit, some people are looking for something else, either some kind of side hustle, or they're looking maybe to go into a full-time job and kind of keep their license on the side. And the conversations I've seen around this, people almost feel like guilty or like they're giving up and all that. And I get the feeling, but I love that the 3 of us here can show like real estate has a ton of options in, under the umbrella, right? Like there's so much you can do. And there's a period where you can sell and you can go crazy. And maybe you want to do that the rest of your life. And that's great. Yeah. But there are also a lot of options because life changes, like interest changes, passions change. And I love that the 3 of us can show that, hey, there's a lot of stuff you can do without, being kind of boots on the ground. So,
yeah.
Conversation. Okay. So let's first, before we get into all the other stuff, let's address the elephant in the room, all the NAR stuff, right? And I say elephant because I think when you don't really have a grasp on everything it is, or when you're just watching from whatever the media is showing, it seems bigger and paralyzing, right? So Jodie, like when it comes to NAR lawsuit and the changes, like kind of what are your feelings on it? How do you think it'll change the industry and real estate agents' roles?
Well, and I love that you said that there's so much out there that agents don't even really know, because the truth of the matter is all that stuff is happening up here at the surface level. When you get down granularly down to the individual agents and the individual brokerages, what do you think is really going to change? A couple of forms?
Right.
Basically, you're going to have maybe an extra conversation. Real estate has always been in this change, evolving state, like since the beginning of time. It has changed multiple times throughout its existence, and it's going to continue to evolve, right? It's always going to be changing. But the truth is, the fundamental stuff, the real stuff, like the boots on the ground stuff that you were just talking about, that stuff's really not going to change dramatically. So everybody stop freaking out, everybody stop panicking, because the truth is real estate's still going to be there, and it's still going to, you're still going to have to do the same types of things. There may be some other avenues you might be considering exploring at this point, which is not a bad idea. It's going to force you to learn a little bit more. But other than that, real estate's going to keep chugging along, because guess what? People still need to buy and sell real estate at the end of the day. So yeah, it sounds real scary because media has to like drive revenue as well. So they're going to create the clickbaity headlines that's going to freak everybody out. But at the end of the day, what's really changing? Let's stop panicking and look at what's really changing. What has really happened is agents have gotten kind of sloppy about having these conversations that they should have been having with their clients since day one, right? And because of that, we're in a time now where we got to course correct a little bit. So some rules are being tweaked just to get people back on track the way they should have been in the first place. So that's my hot take on it. Yeah, take it for what it's worth, right?
I love it, because when we were actually talking offline before this, to me, it's listen, I tend to be a panicker, right? So like when I see all this stuff, I'm like, oh my God, everything. And I love, because you actually like steadied even my thought process about it. You know what I mean? So we need people like you who, because then when I actually thought about it, I was like, she's actually right. It's just really a couple of things, you know. It reminds me of
like you said, it's the conversations, right? Like being transparent with your clients, and not just kind of, well, and I guess we'll probably get into this more, but setting yourself up like a business, right? Being like, okay, these are the contracts I use. These are the conversations I have. This is my process. These are my strategies. And not just saying, okay, I need a client and I want to list this house and I want to sell this house and I want to make this money. We'll slow down, look at things in a more methodical way, in a more strategic way, have the conversations, be open, communicate. And honestly, I don't think it sounds scarier than it is, right? Like, I don't think anything is going to blow up in our faces. It's an ever evolving thing though. So we don't know the true end yet. But in the meantime, I would say continue communicating, continue educating your clients, educating yourself so that you can have the proper conversations and use the proper forms.
I mean, I know agents who never even ask their buyers to sign an agreement at all. So that's how far gone we've gotten. So we're just bringing things back into the right lane that they need to be in, right? So
when you think of it that way too, it actually will make our jobs over time easier if you learn how to like organize and optimize your business, just like Brittany touched on, like building like a business. I've been to a lawyer, I've been through a divorce, so I've been to a lawyer before. They were never like, oh, just come in and sign this, sure, I'll write up the paperwork and I'll go to court. Everything was like very methodical. Okay, first you pay your consultation fee, then you sign this, then everything works in stages, which allows also the lawyer to control their time. Which goes back to the wellness thing, Brittany, right? Which us like just running like crazy all over the place, right?
Million miles a minute. Yeah, it is one of those things where I think truly in this, with all the stress and kind of the pressure of people thinking, should I leave? Should I go part-time? Is everything going to blow up in our faces in this industry? I think it's taking a minute to quiet your thoughts, do some of the, like Jodie said, slow down, look at things beyond the headlines and take a breath, do some things that do pour back into yourself so that then you can show up calm, cool, and collected with your clients, as opposed to frantic and potentially really losing out on the deal, right?
Right.
Yeah.
You just become a TikTok meme at that point, right? When you
Yeah, exactly. Or it's my favorite terminology is commission breath. When you show up with that thing and you're constantly almost like desperate. And I've been there when you're like, oh my gosh, if I don't hurry up and show them without this agreement, someone else will.
Yes.
But so in actuality, I think that this is kind of maybe going to make people's lives easier in a way.
And they'll be better for it. They'll be better agents overall for it. So
yeah, absolutely. I love that. Okay. So talking about like being better agents and all this stuff. I know Jodie, you and I had talked about like these just the timeless like basics, right? So there's a lot of new things and everything you watch on Instagram, including the stuff that I post all the time, is talking about all these new things. Yes. But what are some of like these, before we get into that, like what are some of these old school tactics that are like the basics, the foundational things that agents should be using now and as things change?
Well, for me especially, I still feel like pouring into direct mail. Direct mail is amazing, and email marketing and building your database and constantly staying in touch with your database. Those things will not lose their effectiveness anytime soon. I still love those. Now, having said all that, you mentioned all the fun, shiny new objects that are out there. In fact, I've seen some of your posts and I'm like, oh my God, I just learned something new. And I just love that. I love that. Yeah. So there are a lot of cool new tools that are out there. And I encourage agents to get out there and start learning, because it's marketing 2.0. It's what I said before, right? You got to step up your game, and you better be using video, because this is how people connect these days. So yes, do the old stuff, do it, because it's still very valuable, but also be able to embrace some of the new things that are out there and start using them. Because number one, they'll make your lives easier.
Right.
Period. Because they'll shorten, it's like shorthand, right? So you're going to be able to get a lot more things done in a much more efficient way, right? So,
and I think, like, piggybacking off of that, you can take some of the new things and weave them into old strategies, right? Like, there are tried and true methods for a reason in this industry, things that have stood the test of time, different markets. Sometimes things might work better than others. Like, I remember a time when direct mail wasn't working as much, but maybe something else was. And then it comes back to the flow of like, that's working really well. So not really giving up, but being consistent, right? Like, you don't have to stop it. Maybe you slow down a little bit on certain things. And if that area is not giving you a high return on your investment, if another area is, and you want to pour some more money or time into that. But I think utilizing the new techniques and the new tools and resources potentially with some of the old techniques is what can really strengthen an agent's marketing strategy.
Right. And each market's probably going to be a little bit different. Like, some respond to door hangers and door knocking, where others it's like, no, thank you.
And honestly, like, majority, if not all of my business was built in the city of Chicago. And so I couldn't really do pop buys, right? Like, I'm working in high-rise buildings. I have a doorman as the gatekeeper. It's like, so you have different strategies for your market, but I could say, okay, what will work better for me? I could still do farm mailing to buildings as opposed to a neighborhood. I'm looking at a building and saying, okay, this building is a neighborhood, and what am I going to provide them that's helpful and unique?
Yeah, I love that.
And I love what you said too about consistency too, because I think like a lot of these types of commission-based industries, right? We're almost a little bit squirrely, like, oh, video, oh no, automations, oh, door knockers, right? Where it's really like you have to find something and just be consistent. All of these things can work. They've worked for different people, they've worked for different markets, they've worked at some point, right?
Absolutely.
But I feel like a lot of times agents, they don't see the results in a month or two. This is like a long form.
Yeah, you got to give it at least 90 days to see what your real return on investment really is. And if it's not giving you anything, okay, put that one away and try a different avenue. But you can't just jump into like 10 things at one time and just be all scatterbrained and not have a strategy in place. Give each one at least a 90-day try to see what kind of things happen. If that one doesn't work, try a different one. Only focus on 2 to 3 strategies at one time, period.
Yep.
It's too much.
And honestly, I think that's where a business plan comes in as a crucial piece of a real estate agent's business, because then you can have your strategies written out, right? And say, okay, I've been tracking this for however many days or months or whatever it might be. This is what I've gotten out of it. Now I'm moving on, or I'm going to switch during this time of year. This doesn't really work well, but that does. You can't track yourself and know what your return is unless you have that strategy really outlined. And then you're actually going back to it and utilizing it as its own tool for your business.
Well, and just tracking in general. So many agents just put things out there and don't even track. Like, is it doing anything? You don't even know. You're not even collecting the data. That's just mind blowing to me. So yeah,
you don't have any data, like specifically, let's say on the social media video side that I'm on, you don't have any data if you don't do it, right? It's
right.
Just like, it's so, but once you go back, I was sitting with someone the other day and she's spending money on a videographer and she's making great videos. But when we looked back at her insights, like, okay, what gave you like the most growth? What got you the most followers? And I'm like, these ones that got you no followers or no views or whatever, trash those ideas. It's not to say those are a waste that you did them. Everything teaches you something.
Everything teaches you. Yes.
But if you're not looking back at your data, you're just reinventing the wheel every time you post a video, and that is going to give you burnout. Like Brittany would say. You're going to be exhausted just trying to every day figure it out. So, okay. I love that. Brittany, like, I know building relationships is really key in this business.
Yeah.
And that really is one of like the basics, but also can be, you can build new relationships, I guess, better with the modern stuff. But what are some of like your go-to strategies for building those I think you said most of your business was built like from your SOI and stuff like that. So what were some of your strategies you used to build those relationships and have them convert into sales?
I mean, so for me, I was never afraid to talk about being in the industry, right? Like I would be in a cab in Chicago and give my card to the cab driver, or, like I'm in a coffee shop in a little neighborhood. And if I think, okay, they leave, you could see they leave or allow companies or businesses to leave cards or whatever promos, I would ask if I could leave some cards. I mean, so kind of everywhere I'd go, you make micro relationships that can lead to additional business. And it's not always just with your SOI. It could literally be a cab driver or could be a barista. It could be really anyone, anywhere. And so I always made sure to have my business cards on me. And I also had my business card on my phone. It's like the contact that you can share that's a digital business card. And so that way, anyone that had my contact or wanted to refer me would have my real estate information in it. So I am really big about maintaining and building relationships. And that to me personally is staying in contact and communication and not being afraid to provide something of value to the people that are in your sphere or around you in general, just educational pieces or just generally staying in contact, right? Like having a coffee chat with someone or just grabbing lunch, just maintaining and building upon relationships that you already had that then can lead to referrals that, then you start nurturing from there. So for me, I guess it's always about communication. And I know that some people do like big client appreciation events and they'll do things like that, which I think are great. Showing your clients that you want to do something fun and nice for them that because they've worked with you or referred you business is outstanding. But like for me, when I was starting out my business, I'm like, I have to do every free thing possible, right? Because I can't spend a ton of money on big client appreciation events. So what can I do? Well, you look at like the smaller things that maybe are more individualized, a text message, a phone call, emails, like I said, providing education. Jodie said, make sure you're building your email list and stuff like that. When you have that email list, think about what you're providing. It could be something fun and lighthearted, but it could also, to me, is always something of value, like something that they could utilize and look back and say, oh yeah, Brittany sent me that, or I'm going to go to her because I know that she's trying to give us the information we need. When I did my farm mailing for buildings as neighborhoods, I would give them a building update every quarter, specifically for their building. So that was coming from me. They didn't have to search for the information. It was, hey, here's how many units have sold in your building in the past 3 months. Here's what's on the market now. Here's, just so they were constantly updated. So yeah, for me, it's communication and education really, and not being afraid to promote yourself kind of anywhere you go. But I'm not like obnoxious, salesy in your face. It's just a conversation, right? Being able to talk to people for me is key. And I think anytime I've worked with agents that they feel a little bit more shy, but they love being in this industry, I encourage them to like go to your neighborhood bakery or something like that and maybe ask them if you could provide like a $5 or whatever they want to give. Would you provide $5 coupon to my clients? And then text your clients and say, hey, go check out this local bakery or coffee shop. They're giving $5 off to my clients. It's a touch point, right? And it's something unique and different that's connecting you to that neighborhood and that market, and also nurturing your relationship with people that you're wanting to work with or have worked with.
I love that.
Right. It's
Yeah.
really good. How about you, Jodie? How did you kind of do that aspect
When
of
I
real estate?
got my license in Florida, I am not from here, and I moved to a brand new location and decided, oh, I think I'm just going to go ahead and get my license now, not realizing I have a sphere. I didn't have a sphere at all. So I built my entire real estate business with YouTube. I started a channel. I've made videos. My specialty was military PCS just because that was the world I'd just come from. So I totally understood it. And I would create these videos about the area where I live. It's like, this is what it's like to live here. These are the cool things. These are the not so cool things. Oh, by the way, VA buyers, here's some tips for you. Here's how you use the VA home loan, yada, yada, yada. So I built it doing consistent videos every week. And I learned to get really, really good at those. And that drove my business because people would watch my videos, and I created lead magnets like buyer's guides and like a moving list for PCSers and things of that nature. I did a whole bunch of fun lead magnets like that and created those as downloads to drive those leads into my database. So then I could continue to reach out to them. Video was my best friend. I signed up for BombBomb right away, and I would make videos on my phone and just send them directly to people from my phone all the time. I set up an entire like video series. So whenever I had people go into my funnel, there was like a series of videos. So by the time they got through the whole thing, they thought I was like their best friend. So they would reach out to me like they already knew me, which was fantastic. I loved it.
Jodie, you're speaking my love language. Oh my gosh, I love this so much. Okay, just while my thoughts are all over the place, but I love Brittany's because one thing is like, that is so good because it's just a numbers game. Giving out your cards to all these people, it's just increasing your SRI. And I've noticed like
on the ground, which the boots on the ground, kind of like a little bit more traditional and old school method, really what it was. And then Jodie's is like the digital kind of like we both have that like balance, which also you can combine them, right?
Exactly. Because I was going to say, I did the exact same thing that Brittany did, with the people that I was around. So I was building a sphere in my new community, doing exactly what Brittany did, going out and talking to business owners and things of that nature. And just every person I met, I would go to all the networking things. Same thing. I was doing that in my local area.
They want to, like, a lot of times I found that, like, small business owners, it's almost like I scratch your back, you scratch my type of thing. A lot of them want to refer you to someone, or want to kind of, like, you know, even if it's not them that's buying a house, they're quick to be like, oh, but I met this girl that did come into my coffee shop.
Yep.
And the best part is, both of these suggestions that you gave are very low cost. You know, YouTube is free. Like, it takes your time going out to these shops, whatever. Maybe you're buying a $5-6 coffee, but these things are free. So they're for everyone, basically.
Everyone can do it.
So Brittany, it's funny because I'm super outgoing, but my husband used to always be like, give you a card to that person. Tell me work in real estate. I'm like, oh, I don't want them to think I'm used here. So I was like always so scared of it, but I wasn't necessarily scared to get on video, which is strange. But Jodie, like, with your YouTube and stuff like that, because I know people, it's almost like agents know they have to get on video, and they should, but they have so many hangups, specifically female agents. And I've been there, right? But we all worried about what we look like, what we sound like, all this stuff. So did you have any of these hangups at the beginning? And if so, like, how did you kind of get over that hurdle?
I invested in a course, right, on how to create video for real estate. And one of the things that she said in the course was, you know, like, here's a fun fact. When you're on video and you're looking at your video of yourself after you've made it, that's how everybody in the world has been seeing you the whole time, and everybody still likes you. Why are you so worried about it? This is what you look like, and this is what you sound like. So, and it's like, oh, I guess that's true, right? So I don't know, it's a shift in your mindset. And remember, you're just having a conversation with somebody. That's how I used to do my videos. When I'm talking in my videos, kind of like we're sitting here having this coffee talk right now, that's how my videos really came across. I didn't script things. I bullet pointed things so that whenever I was talking about them, it didn't sound inauthentic. And because I tried some like that, and they're still out there. You can go find them if you want. But the ones that are scripted, you can tell they're scripted, versus the ones I did where I'm just talking off the cuff, like I would be having a conversation with somebody over coffee, right?
Right.
So
right. And also you niche down, which is super important. And I think people with any kind of marketing, but specifically video or niching down, people's objection to me is like, well, you know, but if I talk to a 55 plus group, then this people's not going to like it. Or if I make a video, maybe they're going to be annoyed by me. I'm like, great. Let the quote unquote trash take itself out. Right. It's fine. Like, not everyone's supposed to be attracted to you. But if your
tribe attracts your tribe, and I stand by it every day, all day. So your vibe attracts your tribe. So if somebody doesn't like your personality in your video, they don't want to work with you. And that's perfect, because you probably don't want to work with them either. It'd probably be the worst 6 months of your life. Just saying.
Absolutely. And you figured that out before you've, like, you know, your bullets in July showing them buildings in Chicago, right? Like, take it. I mean, and it helped when you niche down. I'm sure, Brittany, you found this too. Like, if you're niching down into, like, you know, condo owners, that's a whole different lifestyle than, like, people who are living in these, you know, giant 5-bedroom houses. But it actually helps build trust because you're speaking their language. So you're speaking specifically about PCSing. If I came across your video, I would probably have no idea. I mean, I've heard of PCSing, but I don't know about the military lifestyle. But if I did, all the stronger your marketing is, right? Because then I'm like, oh, this girl knows what I'm doing.
Knows what I'm going through and can totally relate, right? So,
right.
I think it is, to me, I feel it's crucial to niche down, because you will attract the people that are supposed to be attracted, right? Like, that it matters. I mean, you should have, being a jack of all trades, but a master of none, right? It's kind of like, it makes you feel more frantic and kind of like you can't focus in specific areas. When you have an expertise in an area, you can then just strengthen and build upon that. So, I mean, for me, I worked with a ton of first-time home buyers and condos. And so those were my specialties, and doing first-time home buyer seminars became like on rotation for me. It was like, partnering with home inspectors and lenders and attorneys to provide the team of people who were going to help you get into your home, right? I called it home goals. And that was my whole thing. What are your home goals? Let's help you get there. Here's your team, right? Like this is the way I marketed it. And it was a way to provide a specific subset of people the information that they specifically needed. And that I think is where people will find more success. Jodie has her area. I couldn't speak to that, right? But then I could say, hey, well, actually, I know someone. Here's a referral for Jodie. And you can then work with someone who has that area of expertise. So having a specific niche also gives you the opportunity to get specific referrals because other people may not have that.
Absolutely. Be the go-to person in your area for that particular niche, and you are in.
Yeah.
Yes, you're in. And that's what helps you be top of mind. You know, it's almost like a pendulum. And I love the word you use, frantic, because it's true. Like people are thinking about like, what do they post? And they're like, oh, new construction here, ranch. Oh God, it's a luxury condo here. And they want to show it all. And it's like, you know, your marketing could actually get much easier, but much more powerful at the same time. Instead of you like your little pendulums like this, because you're just running back and forth instead of, you know, kind of sliding all the way. And even your language, Brittany, I don't know if you meant this, but like home goals is such like a Gen X type, whatever, you know what I mean? Like that group that is likely to be buying, that's like the way they talk.
Right.
So it's immediately kind of captures that.
Yeah. And it's, I think when you have an area of expertise or you find that, okay, this is kind of the target market, right? Like if you have a business plan, you have a target market. If you have that marketing plan within your business plan, you're niching down to what do I want my business to be marketing to, or who do I want it to be marketing to? What is my expertise and how am I presenting that? So yeah, I think it's great because I wouldn't be able to serve Jodie's clients in the same way that she could and vice versa. Maybe, you know, it's kind of like, why not have that specialty and then build upon it? And then, like you said, Jodie, you're the go-to person and people look to you for that advice and guidance.
Yes.
And I think it only strengthens a business.
I agree. And unfocused marketing with no target audience hits no one.
Right.
Yes.
So,
yes.
When the algorithms won't help you.
Yeah. When you're marketing to everyone, you're marketing to no one. It's just like I use this example when I teach Instagram classes, but there was an Apple commercial recently, not so long ago. And it's funny, like
everything.
Huh?
Is it the one where they crush everything?
No. But there's I haven't seen that one actually. But in this one, it starts off with a teenager. She's backing down a narrow driveway and she runs over a skateboard and then she bangs into a garbage can on the way out. And you know, the video is showing her dad like, oh my God, you know, and she's like, bye, Dad. You can tell she's a new driver out on the road. And then the next scene, he's sitting there just staring at his phone. And it's like, whatever, Molly has arrived at school. And he's like, right? Very targeted audience they look for there, right? Because it may not have been like I asked my sister, did you see the Apple commercial? But her kids are small, they're now in the driving age. I have 2 teenage drivers and my daughter is always running over curbs, right? My son, like he just drives fast and so you're just always worried, like, did they arrive? Very targeted, but when it was targeted like that, super powerful, right?
Right.
And that's exactly why I love like niching down. If they get nothing else from this conversation, niche down your market.
That one's a big one. Niche down. And if you feel like you have niched down too far, you haven't. You haven't.
Right.
You get extremely
so much there. But my niche was like New Yorkers that were moving here or had lived here. Lived here and, you know, want to move around. And the reason I chose that was because I tried to, you know, do the other stuff. It just wasn't working for me. And I don't know a lot about the South, or I live here, but I don't know like the culture. I don't speak their language or whatever. But I remember when I was moving here, when you're moving here from a place like New York City to here, it's just so there's nothing that like you can compare it to.
Right.
So I remember my agent, it's like, I'll be like, find me a neighborhood like this. She was like, it doesn't exist. Okay. It was like, and my agent, she was from New York. So I remember like telling her different parts of Queens. I'd be like, okay, can you find me a place of this? She was like, first of all, get walkable out of your mind because it doesn't like really exist here. Right. And so, but that was super helpful because she at least knew what I was going for.
Yeah.
So I made that my thing. And then I was free to be like, hey guys, let's have some coffee. Let's talk about pizza. Like all this stuff that I didn't attract. I'm sure some Southerners are rolling their eyeballs at me, but I'm telling you, I got so much business from New Yorkers, people whose family are moving here. Like it was almost like immediate. Once I started doing that, everything kept coming in.
Well, I equate it to being, like, do you want to be the tiny little fish in the ginormous ocean, or would you rather be the biggest fish in this pond that's not very big, but you're going to get all the business,
Right?
All of it.
Yeah.
I mean, it is that. I mean, you have to remember that you're going to be the big fish in the small pond, but the pond is plentiful and there's plenty of business there, and you're going to be seen because you are going to be the biggest fish there. So rather than try to compete with everybody else in the big bad ocean, it's easier to do, and it will settle your nerves and relieve some anxiety. Just focus on this little thing, and you'll have more business and you'll know what to do with.
And I think if there's a question of how to get a specific niche, right? Like I know that some agents are like, well, what is my specialty? I don't have the military background, or I feel far removed from the first time home buyers, or whatever it might be, right? I always told people, if you are trying to find something to niche down to, think about your interests, what groups, what organizations, what are you involved in? Do you like to play tennis? What do you do, right? Like,
spend your time with.
How do you spend your time? Who do you spend your time with? Yeah. What do you find yourself attracted to in this industry? Do you love new developments? Do you love new, what could it be that you could focus on? But write things down that you're interested in, that you are participating in, that you're drawn to, and then you'll start to see, oh, I could actually probably focus on this area.
And I would start with the individuals first. Like, who do you want to spend time with? And if you've done a couple of deals like through your brokerage, you probably already kind of have a sense of who you like to work with, and start with the people, the individuals, and then branch out from there. Where do your people work? What do they do? Where are they from? What age group? Do they have kids? Do they not have kids? Are their kids grown? Are they littles? Focus on the people first, and then the rest of it will come along. And then, like Brittany said earlier, you can piggyback on that and add other things. Like, I foresee in the near future pre-foreclosures becoming a much bigger deal, right? So if you start learning about short sales right now, you could become the go-to person to help people through a really, really difficult situation. And there's so many different niches out there. There's people who are, like Brittany was talking about, the condo industry, the luxury, the Airbnb, the investors. Start looking at investors, because they're going to be real hot in the next year or so.
And it's funny because, like, usually your niche, just like both of you touched on, ends up being like you in some way, right? It's like, who are you surrounded by? What do you like to do? Usually, like, if you don't have small kids at home, usually you're not like, woohoo, I can't wait to help more people with a bunch of small kids at all our showings, right? Like, but if you're in that stage of life, you're excited about it. And the great thing is, because they are usually somewhat like you or shared interest, your marketing becomes almost more enjoyable too. Like, investors, oh my gosh, I'm terrified of investors because I had to go into these like ghetto trap houses and I'm scared and whatever. But my work became fun when I could talk about like all the things that New Yorkers would find interesting here, right? Then that makes it enjoyable. And that's like, what better way to kind of spend your week? Like, do something that you're gonna enjoy. Yes.
Right.
Oh my gosh. Okay. So I mean, we talked a little about video content, but for both of you, I know Jodie, you were big on YouTube and stuff. What kind of and Brittany, you too, but what kind of video content for both of you, I guess, did you find the most impactful when it came to driving those leads?
For me, it was a lot of taking some of the fear out of the VA home buying process. There's so many things that I learned after I got into real estate that I didn't know about while my husband was still active duty. I wish I had known. I made it my mission to educate everyone. Like, use your BAH to buy a house. It's the only way you get to keep that money ever, because it becomes equity and that's in your house. So, and I know that's probably just speaking some foreign language to some people who don't understand anything about the military life. But so like, there's so many things about buying a house when you're in the military, and it's kind of scary for a lot of people. So I spent a lot of time educating people on the process, explaining why it's better to buy while you're still active duty, even though you may PCS away from the property, and explaining what happens when that does happen. What are your options? What could happen? What might happen? All of these types of questions that I know VA home buyers have, because we had those, and it's why we never did buy. So I spent a lot of time just educating people about the process itself. And then I talked about the community, because nobody knew anything about the community. It was around a base. So, but the military doesn't do a lot to tell you about what's around there. So I did a whole lot of just driving around and talking to businesses and showing the different things around the community, so that they would get a feel for the community that they were moving into. Because almost every single one of them didn't know anything about the panhandle of Florida. Most people think about Florida and they think it's all the same. And it's not. There's so many different parts. So up in the panhandle's way different from where we just moved to in Central Florida. So, giving people a feel for the place, so that it just kind of alleviates some of the fear around the PCS move itself, and then the home buying process in general. So it was a lot. So I had a lot.
Specifically to like their needs, their fears, and all that stuff. So I love that.
All of that. So
how about you, Brittany?
So I'm of course always big on the education, taking the fear out of any process that you're going through in real estate. But so I would do educational videos and content. But I would do the neighborhood stuff too. I love that stuff. I didn't ever go crazy with neighborhood stuff, but I kind of did a different angle of like, because I was in the city and in high rises all the time, I had so many different views. And so like my thing was views. So it would be like, and now it's funny because you see on TikTok and all of that, it's like POV, right? But years ago, I would do what's my POV? Like, where am I? What part of the city am I in? Anywhere I'd find like a cool view. If I was at an open house, I'd be like, where's this open house view from today? And so it's almost like when people do like, on the stories on Instagram or something, they'll do like the this or that, or like the choose what is the word I'm looking for? Like a survey or something like that, right? But I do interactive posts. So it's like,
brilliant.
Tell me where I'm at. And it's always a different view from a different building. And then of course, that's the exterior. I'm showing the view from where I'm at. But then of course you show, okay, well, here's the inside of that view. That's really the thing that I did. And it was my thing. That was always the view kind of based thing. And I did a lot of interaction on that stuff. What'd you say?
I was going to say, you attract some good local followers from that too, because like anyone who lives in a big city, or even like me, like live outside of a big city now, I love city views. I'll see city views over anything that just like, so you could probably, that's really good, like attraction content, but then you're attracting them and then also engaging them with your polls and stuff. So that's
right. Yeah. That was what I enjoyed doing it because I had fun with it. Right. Like that's something I love. And I love a good view. It could even just be, it could be a beach or a sunset view, but it could be a city view. It could be from a high rise or whatever. It could be from anywhere. So, but around the city, there's so many unique views everywhere you go that I just kind of, I'm like, I love this, so I'm going to share it. And it does, like we were saying earlier, it attracts the people that are attracted to that kind of content, and it helps with engagement in that way.
And that kind of content, because you're enjoying it, is so authentic that authenticity truly comes through. And that's the thing. That's really the secret. That's the secret sauce that makes those connections and makes them so strong and powerful. So
yeah, that's so good. When they see you like loving your job and what you do, and not just Be like, here's a 3-bedroom new construction. You know what I mean? It comes across as like you don't necessarily need them, but you it's exactly what Jodie said. You like attract people instead of chasing people all the time.
Right.
That's
Which
a
again,
really fun place to be, by the way.
really more fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally. Okay. So email marketing, and I love that you girls touched on this because I feel like even even compared to video, email marketing is a really underutilized tactic
Yes.
with real estate agents. I feel like they don't know like what to do, where to start. So like what are some of the strategies you use for your email? Took you a long time. It's pretty
Oh my
simple.
God.
Take the fear out of it for people.
Okay, so email marketing is where I came from. That's my jam. I love email marketing. I still feel like it's the most powerful and the most intimate type of marketing that you can do.
Said the word. You said the word. That's exactly what I was going to say. Okay.
I mean, people, you know what? I tell this to people and they don't go, they're like, what do you mean intimate? And I'm like, okay, listen, when somebody's reading your email, it's very personal, like you're having a one-on-one conversation with them, and you can't get any more granular or intimate than that.
Yeah.
And then you can partner that with video. This is where I used to use my bomb like cray cray. I would put a bomb video in there and say, hey, I was thinking about you guys today, and here's a little short story. And then I would put something in a video and say, check out my video. And it was like a message. It felt like it was just for that person that I was making it for.
Yeah.
Oh my God, it's the best. Because people will respond back to me and say, I'm so glad you thought of this. Like they're having a conversation and they're continuing the conversation with me. Oh,
that's so good. I love the way you framed it right there, that you were, even though you were emailing one to many, you're communicating one to one.
Yes.
And it's actually pretty simple to do that once you get into the mindset. Like, you know, that's why people personalize and put the name and stuff. But as you're going through it, don't put like, you guys, you know, speak almost like you're speaking directly to a person.
Yes.
It really amps it up. And then were you like tracking, like what kind of emails, I guess, were you sending? Were they just sequences? Were you sending newsletters?
I did do both. I didn't do my newsletter for very long. I just kind of, that's when I shifted gears. But I had I had built up a lot of sequences. So depending on how a person came in through my funnels, I would set them up on this, you know, multi-email sequence. Several of them had videos. Some of them did not. A lot of it was, you know, so you made it this far, next step, you know, as far as like getting through the process, you know, and it might've been educational where it was like, thanks for downloading this, this piece. Just so you know, it's a really helpful tool. And these are the types of things that you can learn, you know, about the process. And then I would just kind of lead them through different types or different educational points where they could learn more along the way. So they were growing their education through the sequence. So,
and I'm sure it was like a little bit time heavy on the setup, but then once it's done,
done forever.
Right?
Yeah. And it's just made up after that. And I can even go in and add stuff to it as like if I made a video sequence, I could go back in and add those videos in.
Yes.
Beautiful.
It's a beautiful thing when you're just going throughout your day and someone responding to an email that technically you wrote up 8 months ago.
Yeah.
You know,
exactly.
Like, I feel like I am really streamlining my processes right now.
Look at me. Like,
yeah, I know, maybe being all technical. How about you, Brittany? Did you use email to try to like nurture people? What worked for you?
And I used it in a few different ways. So I would do the drip campaigns, and I'd have the sequences for renters going to buyers, and then first-time home buyers, and then, you know, maybe like, okay, now you're in your home, and what sequence are you going to get? I'm all about batching content. I think you have to. I think that that's something that not only does it streamline our business and our processes, but frees up some time, and going to the burnout prevention strategies.
Yes.
Honestly, it saves your sanity. It keeps your stress levels minimized, and you're not running around frantic again, trying to get emails out. So I was all about drip campaigns. I think that they're powerful. I think that people should utilize them. It helps to educate and convert. It nurtures after people have closed. Then I'm big on newsletters as well. So like Jodie's saying, take a video and send it over text or email, right? You can do either. And I actually kind of consider text marketing as a little bit of email marketing, right? Because some people, we use our phones as if they're mini computers. And sometimes nowadays emails can get bogged down because everyone is sending newsletters, right? So I was always a little bit worried that my email would get lost in the shuffle in people's emails. So a little weird, but random tip that I used to do was I would schedule my emails to be sent out later at night. So it would be early and it would be one of the first emails people would see in the morning. So rather than send it early in the morning the start of the day, it's 8 a.m. Send it later or super early, send it at an odd time, right? So that when people are opening their emails in the morning, it's at the top of their email list.
Yes.
It's just one little thing but I love newsletters. I would personalize content like Jodie was saying, like if you're batching content, it doesn't have to be these long blog posts. It could be a quick video. It could be a snippet of something where you're talking to your people in a more personal way. But I think people get overwhelmed.
Right. Well, I always tell them too that even when you run these things through ChatGPT and you're like, help me reach out to a seller, it gives you like 4 paragraphs, right? Mm-hmm. And I'm like, no, you should be writing your emails the way if me and Jodie, we're planning something as friends, I'm not writing her 4 paragraphs. And if so, I'm not going to be Jodie's friends for very long, right? So like these short little things, and video helps kind of take the bulk out of it, right? But even if it's just text-based, just a couple of sentences at a time. You don't need, you can always redirect them elsewhere. But super short, the way you would write to a friend.
Yes.
You know what's really funny? I was just thinking about you mentioned ChatGPT, and I love using my AI tools. They are the coolest. And I think about all the time I spent trying to come up with topics to put into an email drip sequence. And now I could just pop into my AI and say, I need to make a sequence for this. And it'll give me all the ideas. And I'm like, well, look, I just saved myself hours.
Isn't it amazing? And all you have to go through is, go and make it your own, shorten it, whatever, add your personality. Even like in ChatGPT's custom instructions, it's super easy because when we talk about niches, right? Jodie can go in her custom instructions and be like, my audience is people who are PCSing. Brittany can say, hey, I sell condos all over Chicago, be hyper specific. Then when it's writing these sequences, it's keeping those things in mind.
Yes, it is. It does a much better job than some people want to give it credit for.
Right. Yes, it totally does. Okay, so we're on the AI topic. I know we're gonna, close out soon, but quickly on the AI topic, people kind of like freak out about this again, right? They're gonna take our jobs. What are some ways that you think AI can actually help boost your business?
I just mentioned one where you just tell it to help you come up with the ideas so you don't have to spend all your time mining ideas. So ask it to help you. I use my AI as an assistant and I say, this is the project I'm working on. I would like your help doing this, and tell it exactly what I'm looking for and who my audience is. And then boom, it will pop out a bunch of ideas. It could pop out an outline. It could help me rewrite stuff that I've already written to make it sound better and flow better. And I teach people how to do the thing that you did recently in a video where you use the bulk create in Canva. Oh my God. I love it. I'm teaching this now. I'm going to teach to some people.
I love when a light goes on with people. How about you, Brittany?
Yeah, I use it as a brainstorming tool. I mean, I think that it can be very hard, especially agents. There's a combo of agents, right? Like agents are entrepreneurs. They're people. Then there's the agents that are salespeople. Then, it's like we are all a combo usually of most things. But I've worked with so many agents that are like, I am not creative. I don't know how to create social media content. I don't know where to come up with these ideas. And even me, I am a creative person. Back before we had the tool to help us brainstorm, when I was batching content, I was mining for, okay, what am I going to do? And sometimes you're like, okay, this is bogging me down, trying to come up with all this content for so many weeks, right? So brainstorming, for me, I think that's a huge added bonus, even if you're a creative person. But if you're not, and you need to come up with email ideas or social media content, whatever it might be, just use it as that assistant. It's there to help relieve some of the stress that can make us feel overwhelmed and prevent you from doing the work, right? So rather than being bogged down and saying, forget it, I am not touching social media, or I'm not touching email marketing, use it to help you break through that barrier. And I think it would be a big help to people's business.
And I always tell people too, like, look for, I think people see all these ChatGPT and all these tips and tricks, all these things you can do. And again, it becomes something that's like paralyzing, but instead look for pieces. And I remember when we spoke, Brittany, on our last episode, like missing pieces in your business, that'll just help your business get better. Yeah. Right. So if there's like a little, if you're really like, I really would love to get my email marketing down, fine. Let's use ChatGPT for that.
Right.
Yes. You have to go crazy on a bunch of other things.
Start small. Yeah. Start small. Yeah. Start with one little task that you delegate to your AI of choice and see what happens. See how much it can do for you. Once you get comfortable with that, then take on a little more and say, okay, well, let's move to the next thing. Let's see what else it can do. Right. Don't overwhelm yourself. Just take it one step at a time.
One day at a time. All right. And then lastly, I want to talk a little bit about, and I know Brittany touched on it, but treating real estate or being a real estate agent as a business versus a job, right? Because we've all seen agents that are still just 30 years in, still like on that roller coaster, right? So, like just having or adopting a CEO mindset, which I think is hard for people. But what are some of your ideas for like treating, or let's say, what is one idea for treating real estate as a business rather than a job?
You want to take that one first, Brittany?
I mean, I've mentioned it a few times. I will always preach to have a business plan. You can't have a sustainable business without a business plan. And it should be something that ebbs and flows with the market that you're working in throughout the year. Like, look at your quarters, adjust as you need to. I am in a very seasonal market. I do not, we have really bad weather sometimes, and that will affect our market. We have, summertime where people slow down, or, based on the school season, which could be anywhere in the country. There are just ebbs and flows, right? And every market is different. Having a solid business plan, which also encompasses a marketing plan and a burnout prevention plan.
The trifecta.
That is, to me, that is what it should be. And it should help you stay focused. It should include your strategies. It should help you look at your ROI and then adjust as needed. To me, that is how you adopt a CEO mindset. You are looking at yourself as a business entity and approaching it in that structured way. It will create sustainability. And anyone I've worked with that has been in the business for 30 years and feels like they're not really operating the way they want to, I always ask, do you have a business plan? Do you do one annually? And if you do, are you looking at it and adjusting throughout the year? And if you don't have one, it's never too late. Start creating one. So I would say the business plan with marketing and burnout prevention plan is the key.
That's really good.
On what Brittany's talking about, once you get your business plan in place, create the systems and processes to implement all of those things that you have in your plan. So, because you have to look at it as a CEO would, right? How valuable is your time? And how much of your time are you wasting in the wrong areas? Can you hire that out to an assistant, or start creating your support?
That's actually a big place where I've seen people, sometimes they'll start off fine. You treat it as a job when you start off, but what happens is they start making money and then they're afraid to spend the money to scale.
Right.
It's like, man, if you're selling 40 houses a year, you probably shouldn't be doing your own transaction paperwork, right? If you can farm, some people like $350 a transaction. I'm like, girl, if you would just farm that out, you can close another deal. So whatever, in my market, average price point, whatever, 500,000. So you're basically stepping over $1 to pick up a dime, right? And so that is a mindset. I think that's different. Learn
I
to
think, yeah, knowing your numbers, like that's one thing I'm big on is keeping track of your own stuff, right? Now some companies are amazing and they have all the tracking we need. So great, print it out or put it in a PDF, but always track your stuff as well to cross-reference and know, like, is everything accurate? How am I going to reinvest? How am I going to build upon this? And do I need to make adjustments because I'm not doing or making enough? Like, knowing your numbers and operating with.
Sometimes you're in your own way because you are the bottleneck in your own business because you won't hire somebody to do this. I mean, that was one of the biggest lessons I learned my first year in real estate. Hire somebody. When you're that busy, you can't do it all, period. And you're going to really hurt yourself. So hire somebody, hire that transaction coordinator, hire a marketing assistant if you need to keep track of all your stuff. But don't try to be the bottleneck, or don't be the bottleneck in your business. Make sure that you're looking outside. And as Brittany said, keep track of your numbers, because if you're not making the numbers that you want to be making, it's probably because you're in your own way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And that'll help prevent burnout. I mean, I was never a top producer, but I remember one month I closed like 4 or 5 deals in a month. And I didn't have any systems in place. And I was, all I did have a transaction manager, thank God. But everything else, so like my marketing fell behind. And then when they all closed, I was like, I don't even want to see another human being for like a month, And so when you try to do everything yourself, going back again, this is all kind of in a circle, but like Brittany runs stuff, like you will get burnt out trying to do it all. Plus trying to keep up your household and get your nails done. And like, it's just too much.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think all those things are super important. All right. And then last thing for both of you, going along with that CEO mindset, like investing in yourself is like key, right? So what's like one investment you've made in yourself that you think has paid off handsomely? How about you, Brittany?
Well, I think looking at how I set up my days and like how am I not only just starting my day, because everyone is different, right? And everyone has different lives and mornings and all of that. So I'll never preach like an exact morning routine or anything, but I like to consider my mindset as I start my day to help then flow the rest of the day. It's kind of like slowing down to do more. So the less is more mindset kind of thing, because I think people get caught up in the more is more. And so investing honestly time in myself, time for myself is a massive payoff. When I implemented a burnout prevention plan for myself, I actually saw higher numbers. So people might think that it's the opposite. Well, I'm slowing down, or I'm taking time for myself, or I'm taking myself away from my business a little bit. They're thinking they're going to lose business, but actually you end up usually gaining because you're clearer, you're more focused, you're more productive, you're more efficient. So I'm obviously a big advocate of investing in yourself, whatever that looks like. If it's extra time in your day for yourself, maybe it's reading, maybe it's listening to music, maybe it's going to work out, whatever it is, just that phrase, investing in yourself. And for me, it's making sure I have some time for myself and whatever I need for that day. The mindset in the morning, okay, I'm going to do this and I need X, Y, and Z today so I can be productive. I think
good. And it is really hard to get into that. Like it took me so long to not feel guilty about going to get my nails done. And again, not everyone likes getting their nails done, but when my like it just bothered, it literally like I'll just be writing a video, I'll be like, I can't even post this because my nails, like it bothers me. Right. So like, and I'm not even like a diva. It's just my nails like bother me. Right. But just even away from like my kids and stuff, like feeling guilty about leaving my kids to go get my nails done. I'm like, okay, no, this is just an hour.
Yep.
And I feel like it's therapy, or like I have someone that comes and cleans my house bi-weekly. That is therapy for me.
Therapy.
Right? But it feels
worth every penny.
First, yes. How about you, Jodie?
Well, I'm going to take a different tag than Brittany's. Obviously, that's powerful stuff. And I feel like that's super important. But I will tell you, I have spent lots of dollars to learn and continue to learn all the things. I'll never forget the $1,500 that I spent on that video course that changed everything for my business. It was important to learn, and I was willing to spend the money to get the education I needed to become good at it. Yeah. I'm not just going to sit around and, try to piecemeal it together. I was ready to learn. And when you're ready to really learn something, it's important to say, is this $1,000, $1,500 I'm about to spend on this course worth it to me? Only if I'm going to implement it, but I'm going to implement it and it's going to be good. So I was all for going to the conferences and spending the money on courses to make sure I had enough education to be good at the thing I was trying to be good at. So I feel like if you're in this industry and you're not in it to win it, then you don't worry about this. But if you really want to be good at your craft, spend the money to learn all the things you need to learn to be good.
And be ready to implement, just like you said.
You got to be implementing it. Otherwise, you're just spending money.
Right. Yeah. I mean, there's so many things because like we said, like a squirrel mentality, there's always people throwing stuff at realtors. But pick a path. Know you're ready. You're going to do what it takes, and then invest your money in there, and it's going to pay off no matter what. So,
and it's the accountability to invest, like spending the money holds you accountable to then potentially implement it, right?
Coaching. You got to get your coach to be holding you accountable so that you will actually implement and, get to the finish line where you want to be.
Yeah. Yeah. That's so good. Oh my gosh. Well, guys, we could be here all day. This was so fun. I'm so excited. You guys have got to follow both of these ladies. Obviously, they're a wealth of information on their own, but also like inspiration. And hello, they're fun. So follow Jodie at the Jodie Cordell. That's Jodie Cordell with 2 L's. We're gonna obviously link in the comments and the show notes and all that. And then Brittany is at Brittany Wren, 2 T's. And then 2 N's on Ren, but of course we're going to list it there too. And then they both work with The Close. So The Close is really an excellent online publication with tons of ideas for realtors when it comes to lead gen, old school tests, and new school tactics, and just generalized real estate agent information. It's really helpful. So wealth of information on that site. And you can follow them on Instagram too at TheCloseDotCom, like literally spell it all out. And then that's it. I really appreciate you guys coming on. Thank you so much
for having us, Sarah. This has been
thank you for coming on. Yes, and I hope you guys got a lot of good information. Everything we talked about, we'll link in the show notes. Go follow these girls. And I'll talk to you guys soon. Bye. Bye. Thanks so much for listening to this episode of Real Estate Coffee Talk. If you enjoyed it, please take a moment to subscribe and leave us a review. It really helps. If you'd like to be featured on the show, you can get that information right in the show notes. Be sure to tune in next week for another new episode. And until then, keep your dreams big and your mugs full. See you next week.